ridiculous. Well, here's the thing.
Maybe. Sometimes.
Tell me about this. I want to know more.
Oh, yeah. No.
Holy cow.
We've had a lot of fun.
So I'm almost surprised that I can't, see my breath while I'm talking here on the podcast.
Oh, no.
It's so cold in my house. My son is shaking his head. It's not really that cold, but it feels cold to me because I am old and my blood is thin and I require many blankets to swaddle me. We have no heat. The temperature took a sudden plunge and we turned the heater on and it did nothing. So I don't know if something needs to be turned on. I don't remember doing that in the past, or if there's something that's not working, but I went to make an appointment with PSE&G, which is our electric company, gas and electric. Mm-hmm. And there was something that said, we have all these contracts with them. So it's supposed to be any service call they come out for, it's supposed to be just free, included in our contract. But there's this thing that says, if we have to come start your heater before November 1st, there's a $25 fee. So at first, last weekend, when we're first starting to freeze, I thought, well, I don't want to pay $25. I can wait till November 1st. Well, then it just kept getting colder and colder and colder. So I finally made the appointment for tomorrow morning. And I called to say, hey, you know what? I'm giving you money for contracts all year round on things I only use 6 months out of the year. You think you could waive the $25 fee? And I was trying to say something like, for a valued customer. And the rep says, yeah, I understand privilege, and starts explaining. And I was what? So, it's not like I said, hey, come over immediately to my home, wrap wool blankets around me while you fix my heat immediately. I just said, hey, maybe you could not charge me for wanting heat when it's cold. I was not happy to be accused of privilege for that. And on the other hand, you know what? If somebody buys 4 of your stupid contracts, they should get a little privilege, you know? So, in the meantime, I have been both steamed and freezing for the rest of the week. So, it's like 60 degrees in the house. It's not like I'm, in the North Pole, but
that feels really cold.
Yes, and I work in my house, so I'm sitting all day working with my poor little hands tapping the cold keyboard and complaining quite a lot. But
I would give anything to trade places with you right now.
Yeah, see, to you this would be a balmy day. This would be like where you set your thermostat. But
turn on the fire.
I don't know. It just seems ridiculously cold. But I will try to, if I occasionally hear my hands rubbing together, you will know that I'm just trying to keep my circulation going. As I say hello and welcome to Parenting Roundabout, a weekly podcast about the things that parents are talking about, obsessing about, and complaining about right now. I'm Terri Morrow, and I will be building a small fire under my desk during the course of this podcast. With me today are Catherine Haleko.
Nice and comfortable for the very brief time being.
And Nicole Eridix.
Yeah, we're actually anticipating some rain today, so this could be a very exciting day in California.
Actual weather. Look out the window. It's weather.
I saw this meme on Facebook the other day because it did rain here on Monday and Tuesday, surprisingly. And the meme was sorry, California is shut down today. It's raining.
We're all indoors toasting marshmallows. Yeah. Well, today on the podcast, we're going to talk about tough choices moms have to make. We're going to share some kid food quirks on our Friday speed round. We're going to shout out some stuff we like on our Roundabout Roundup and hear an interview with pediatric occupational therapist Meghan Corridan. But first, what's new with you guys besides weather? Anybody have anything interesting going on? Tell me the tales of your life while I pull my hands up into my shirt.
Oh, just, more skating. We have testing today, so this is always, a little bit of a nervous time.
Yeah.
When there's test. It's kind of like it's like a belt test or something in karate.
Yeah. Well, how did it go for her at the last time we talked? You were in a hotel while she was at a rink.
Yes.
How did that turn out?
Well, that is going to be our first topic. So
okay.
do you want me to go there?
Why don't you just launch on in it, since I've already spoiled the transition?
Well, so she was, as you recall, we were at a hotel room because she had competed. And the way this particular competition worked was everyone skates their event, and then a certain number of finishers from that event get to go and skate again. Mm-hmm. Get to qualify for what they call a championship round and skate again. And she did qualify, which is, yay, good for you. She qualified, but that meant that we needed to stay in this hotel for another 2 days. Mm-hmm. And also it meant that I missed my son's concert, his choir concert. So that was a bummer. And luckily he was very good about it. He didn't get too fussed about it. But, the other thing is that he has a second concert in about 6 weeks, and I already know that I'm going to be missing that one because I have to be traveling with my daughter again. Oh. So, it's just so hard when you really feel like you're forced to choose between them because, if I had really insisted on going to my son's concert, I could have made my daughter skip her event. Mm-hmm. We tried to work it out so that she could actually have her coach drive her home. And I would leave early, but then that didn't work with the coach's parenting responsibilities. Yeah. So it just didn't work out. And I just wondered, how you guys handle these kind of things. At least for all of us, we have 2 kids and 2 parents. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the time we can kind of tag team. Yeah. But if we had more kids or fewer parents, then we'd really be, I know some people use grandparents for this purpose, but we don't have any locals for that. So, so it's really hard. What do you do about it?
Yeah, I'm lucky that my kids don't have a lot of events like that. And, we definitely, my husband and I definitely do tag team. He generally along gender lines, he will take my son to do something and I'll take my daughter. But if it comes to that. But I remember way back when they were little, and due to special education placements, they were in different elementary schools. And what a thing that was, because I could only go to one of their back to school nights. And,
right.
You know how I am with back to school nights. I work that room. You know what? I network and I want to be there. And I would have to send my husband to the other school, which, God bless him, he is good at very many things, but he is does not have the advocacy tool set that I did at the time. So
plus, what do you then do with your 2 kids? Yeah.
We've always had to have have people come over to watch the kids.
Right.
I don't remember what we did way back then. I know once my kids were in high school, we would have people who came over every year, and everybody dropped their kids here. They had like a little party. So, because we're right next to the high school. But yeah, it was really hard. And it was, choosing which teacher do I want to see and schmooze, and which teacher am I just going to have to not
schmooze another time.
Exactly. Which one do I pick? Because both kids want you to go. And so that stunk. And I can't think of any situations we've had, but I sure remember when I was a kid being jealous of my sister when my parents did anything with her and missed something with me. It didn't happen very often, but when it did, it was a big deal. So I don't know. I feel your pain. That is a really difficult thing. And it's so important to have your parents come to these things when you're a kid, your choir concerts and whatever.
Right.
Nobody ever comes to my community band concerts, and I feel sad.
Oh, I would go if I were there. Come join my community band because the concerts are across the street from my house. I don't even have to leave. I just open the window.
Yeah, that's true. I get a lot of concerts that way too. But they're always scheduled with at the same time as baseball games or special Olympics events or practices. And it's that's more important. Go to that,
right.
Go to the Special Olympics party, whatever. It'll be fine. But
Poor mom. How about you, Nicole? Have you been, I mean, since your husband travels a lot, that kind of probably things.
There is a brief time period. First of all, I have to say overall, I'm pretty fortunate because my kids are 5 years apart. So they were in very different stages, and we didn't really have to do a lot of maneuvering of schedules to get to different places.
Right.
Because my daughter was younger at certain times that my son was doing things, and then when it was her turn, he was older. So it just kind of worked out that way. But I have to say there was, and there still is a big issue around when my husband travels for work and it's just me trying to get between places. So once again, that doesn't happen too often anymore because my son is in university and it's not like he's having school plays or that I need to be at. But that's challenging. I really feel for parents who are doing it on their own or have limited network that to support that, because it's tough to make those decisions. And so it hasn't been something that's really impacted our life, but when it does, I notice it, and it makes me really appreciate what people, the decisions that parents have to make and what people go through.
So. Does either of you have kind of like a policy on this, like, you're gonna generally favor the older one because there will be another chance for the little one, or favor the younger one because the older one can kind of understand more, or is it just kind of I think for us it's more of a case by case. We do, I think you're like you, Terri, it sometimes ends up on gender lines, like maybe because when my daughter was starting out in skating, there was hair and makeup and it just kind of stuck. I mean, there's really now not a good reason for her not, for me to avoid doing hockey and him to avoid doing skating. I mean, both kids are pretty self-sufficient at it now. Right. So
we just we would, if push came to shove, we would sort of look at the one that was the most where we needed to be at the time. It wasn't really about, the oldest or what was
the boy or the girl.
Our big criteria was more or less what is going to be the most impacted if we don't go.
Right. That's important. It's hard to tell sometimes, but I know we've had an issue lately where there are things that my daughter would like me to go with her for, just to provide moral support, and sometimes just go with her for the ride and then sit in the car while she does the thing and just be there so she knows she has something familiar and it's important to her. And I would do that for her because I'm a, have laptop, will travel kind of person. I can work anywhere. So I'm happy to do that. But if it's a situation where during that time my son's going to have to be picked up and I'm the one who's going to have to pick him up, I have to say, hey, older sister, think you can do this yourself. Come on, it's okay. And I feel bad because, I want to be there to provide that support. But sometimes, you can't really cut yourself in half. This is what cloning would be useful. Just like, on a situational basis.
Exactly. I believe it was Charlie Zeggers who coined the term "the two places at one time problem."
Yes,
and that is what we're talking about.
There should be some technology to help us out with that. But I guess phones and FaceTime are what we've got right now. But
I mean, it's hard because they both usually have a valid claim, and my son with his choir, he was really fine, that I wasn't there, and it's a choir. It's not like he had a solo.
But if he did, what would you have done? It's not like you could have changed it. But I wanted to be there. I was sad that I had to. Would your husband have videotaped it or something so you could see it later and watch it with him?
He maybe could have. I think it's kind of frowned upon.
It is really obnoxious when parents do that, but I think you could say, his mom can't be here.
His mom isn't here.
And then everybody will judge you.
The Christmas one, the one that I always miss every year because of this skating thing being on the same weekend, they actually televise that.
That's nice.
On our local TV. They save it. They record it when they do it, which is early December, and then they play it right around Christmas time.
Oh, that's nice. TV. That's nice.
Cool.
You can actually watch it. So
that's a nice thing to do for those who have to miss it live.
Right.
Yeah.
So how do your kids tend to handle this? Like Terri, you said when you have to ask your daughter, is she understanding? I mean, I try to say like, I'm really sorry, but this is something that happens a lot in life. We have to make choices, and you had to choose skating over this party, or to my son, I know you really want to be in, there's this thing here called brigade, which is kind of like scouts, and he would love to do it, but with hockey and choir he just can't. So I sort of say I'm in the same boat as you are when we have these kind of conflicts, which sometimes they get it, and
I mean, I think that they get it in their head but not in their heart. You still want it, even though you understand all the reasons why you can't have it. You still want it, and it still makes you sad and stressed. Right. And there's nothing parents can do about that. It's a good preparation for life, kid.
Build resilience.
Let me kick you in the gut now so that you'll get strong. Right.
Yeah. My daughter is probably the least understanding, but maybe that has to do with the fact that she's the baby, almost 16-year-old teenage girl. I don't know. She's the one that
the younger kids. Sometimes it's harder for them. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we often get, well, Josh gets that and Josh gets this. In the meantime, we're totally catering to her needs.
Yeah.
The irony of it.
Well, when one kid does that, I try to point out all the things that the other kid does or gets that kid would not want to do. So, do you really want to trade?
Right.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily work, but I feel proud of my rhetorical skills when I do it. Even if they are not appreciated.
I do. I mean, I just think the only way to do it is just to keep explaining that, this is a sad situation for all of us, but this is the way it's got to be until somebody gets on that cloning thing.
I think so.
Or the time turner from Harry Potter. We need one.
And what is that? Because I've heard this is the second time I've heard that mentioned this week. There was a joke with Lin-Manuel Miranda on his Twitter feed about that. What is a time turner for those of us who have not read Harry Potter?
So I think it's in book 4. Hermione, who is, the super smart girl who's friends with Harry Potter.
That much I know.
Okay. She starts taking many classes at school at Hogwarts, and her friends are like, "How are you? What? Weren't you just in the? She'll show up instantly in her seat, and they're like, Where were you?" And it turns out, you find out later that she has this magical device called a time turner that allows her to go back just a couple hours or an hour, and that way she can take 2 classes that meet simultaneously.
Wow.
And that's what she uses it for.
Right.
But it's not everybody can get one. It's like a special device, and it does figure into the dramatic conclusion.
Well, I would think yes. That sounds like the sort of thing that could be used for more complicated things than going to 2 classes at a time.
Right.
As we discussed on a recent speed round.
Right. Yes.
But, we need some sort of technology that allows us in some way, shape, or form to be 2 places at once. Get it done. Science. We're tired of being the bad guy.
But until that time, we're stuck.
Yeah. So. We're stuck breaking somebody's heart at all times.
Yes.
Including our own.
I didn't have much to contribute to that conversation because as I mentioned earlier, my kids are quite a bit far apart in age. So that, the topic of having to decide between their activities isn't a big one, but this next topic certainly is.
You got some words for this one, huh?
It's certainly very relevant. Food our kids won't eat. My goodness, that is the story of my life. This is why I hate grocery shopping. I hate cooking.
This, by the way, is our Friday speed round. I forgot to write that down.
Perhaps not so speedy if Nicole's got a long list.
Right, maybe not.
That's okay. I won't go into too much detail.
Oh, give us some details. What won't they eat?
My kids don't eat anything that is green, orange.
To be fair,
that's true.
Yes, but I tried.
The red apple doesn't fall from the tree.
I know, but I tried. Even though I'm not a big veggie eater, I've tried. I've even there was a point I was so desperate to get vegetables into my son, I grated carrots into his pancakes.
Oh my!
Syrup.
Syrup makes everything better.
It does, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So, but now that he's older, I do have to say his taste buds have improved tremendously because he just spent a month in Japan and ate all kinds of stuff that I could never dream of even visualizing. So anyway, yeah, it's a laundry list of items. Terri, how about you? Do you have?
Yeah, well, my son will eat pretty much anything, but he will not eat chocolate, which more chocolate for me, so there's no problem there. And he also doesn't drink milk. Will not drink milk. Oh, and he doesn't. He just interjected that he doesn't eat peanut butter either. So,
oh gosh, really?
Yeah. So all the Reese's peanut butter cups are mine.
Washed down with a nice
cold glass of milk. He'll eat yogurt. He'll eat ice cream. He'll eat cottage cheese. He just won't drink milk. So we give him some calcium tablets to supplement. But my daughter, on the other hand, is quite a bit more picky. She has trouble with foods that have no definitive texture. Like, really, really, really cooked squash that's just kind of a mangle of fibers on your plate. She has trouble swallowing that and will complain about it. And, anything that looks kind of weird or that is excessively vegetably. I mean, we've made her eat whatever we're having, and so she's gotten better at it. And I tell ad nauseum the story of when I went to my friend's house and there were Brussels sprouts, and I had always refused to eat Brussels sprouts, but I couldn't refuse them at the friend's house, and I had to eat them, so it's good to get used to them in advance. So this is why we serve you unpalatable food, children. Just so one day, when you're on a job interview and they're having sushi, you will be able to eat.
Oh my gosh, can you imagine? If you went on a job interview and there was sushi.
I had a job once. I worked for a Japanese ad agency, and they often had sushi at their events. Not their job interviews, but I actually found the least disgusting ones to eat. California rolls not bad. But,
Catherine, are you a sushi eater?
I'm actually not. My kids and I would say, we like the veggie sushi. Yeah. Where it's just like avocados and carrots and stuff like that. We like
hold
that.
The
we
fish.
Hold the fish. My son and I won't. My daughter and I won't eat shellfish, including shrimp. But my son and my husband will both eat it. So if they're having a guys' night, they'll usually have
even if
shellfish.
It's like breaded and deep fried to such a degree that all you can taste is the breading and the oil.
And then the cocktail sauce.
And the cocktail sauce. It could be anything in there, really, by that point.
Can't.
It could be a vegetable. Who would know?
Yeah. No, and other than that, than those couple things, my kids are pretty good. My son used to be a big broccoli eater, and he now kind of pushes it away. He's not that, but he eats a lot of fruits and vegetables. He's pretty good about that, which is why it's ironic that he is not the most regular child. Like, I shouldn't be telling tales about
TMI.
that. But yeah, and my daughter's like, she'll eat most things, but like yogurt, it has to be very specific, like brand style flavor, and I can't ever keep track of it, so I just don't get it. Like, sorry. You can buy it next time you go to the store, but I don't know what you
Too complicated.
You eat, but I buy you.
That's we're definitely in a you'll eat what we buy you house, but it does not always work. And I'm the peacekeeper of, it's no longer PC to tell kids you have to eat everything. You know, if they don't like it, they shouldn't have to eat it. It's, you know, eating disorders. This is how it starts. Right. You make them eat everything. But he's like, you know, it's not going to kill you. Eat it. So I am interceding on the behalf of the squash hater quite often.
Well, I'm a very, very picky eater myself, so I have a lot of compassion for picky eaters out there. So on that note,
yes.
Remember, you can hear our new speed round every Monday through Thursday.
And they are super quick and easy to listen to. Sort of like a delicious snack.
Exactly like that.
And now we'll bring you some more good things on our Parenting Roundabout Roundup. These are things we've read or seen or used recently that we want to shout out and share with you. I'll start. A couple of weeks ago, I saw an article. You know, again, I'm sharing something Hamilton related because it's who I am. But in this case, there was an article in the Washington Post that a man wrote that was titled, "My Nonverbal Son Communicates Through Hamilton." And it was just a very nice article about how, you know, his child who has Down syndrome and apraxia just became taken with the Hamilton soundtrack and would shout out different phrases from it and would follow the lyrics as they went by on a video that had the lyrics on it. And it just brought home to me how, not only how wonderful and amazingly deep this project is, that it's affecting people in so many different ways, but also just that raising kids with special needs is such a whatever works thing, and you never know what is going to be the thing that's going to come along and unlock something that you didn't think could be unlocked. Right. And so it's good to just always keep your eyes open and try different things and be receptive when something comes in a package that you might not have expected. Sometimes it's, you know, maybe it's going to be teaching your kid consonants through cursing, you know, or maybe it's going to be some terrible TV show that you hate but opens up conversations with your kid. You know, you have to be out there, you know, receptive to what might come along. So I thought this article was very cool and moving. And actually in the comments on Twitter about it, some other people mentioned that their kids with language issues had progress from the Hamilton soundtrack. So I guess you throw enough words at them fast enough.
I know, that's so complex. The language in that show, it's so layered and nuanced and complex and fast, but
there's maybe it's the rhythm that makes things you know, makes some people kids connect to it, that they can they're hearing language in a different way instead of just kind of flowing along. It's you know, very coming at them in a very fast and rhythmic way. So whatever, it's wonderful, just amazing what it must feel like to have created something and see it playing off in all these different ways. Catherine, what do you got this week?
I was just going to mention it's a little bit of a self-promotion during the Roundabout Roundup, but I've been writing a lot for Highlights magazine, the parents piece of it, the online. So Highlights, which you're familiar with from your local dentist office, you know, the kids magazine that has this hide and seek pictures and Goofus and Gallant and all that good stuff. They have a nice parent section online with lots of articles and tons of crafts and activities and ideas, recipes, stuff like that. So it's a lot of good, helpful stuff, and I recommend it.
Excellent. And Nicole, what you got?
Oh, it's just a really cute video that I saw on YouTube yesterday. You probably have seen it because it's making the rounds, and it's just a reminder to, you know, let your kids aspire to what they want to be. Which in this child's case, he didn't want to be a hockey player, but he wanted to be a Zamboni driver.
Oh, I saw that. That is cute.
So his dad made him a little Zamboni driving machine out of a tricycle, and it looks like a Rubbermaid container, and then there was like a big piece of cloth attached to it, and he just the little boy drove in circles on the ice rink, clearing the ice. And I can relate to that. I remember mornings, days, weeks of standing and, being in the ice rink and standing off to the side watching the Zamboni driver clear the ice. And it was like, oh, that looks like heaven.
Aw.
So satisfying.
Add that to one of your desired occupations.
Yeah, Zamboni driver.
Yep. We recently discussed the zen of Zamboni driving and how peaceful it was, right, Catherine?
Yeah, I think it looks, I admittedly haven't done it, but I think it looks like, it's just back and forth and you can't go too fast. And it's sort of like a kind of Zen gardening moment, I think.
And you can see the impact you've made.
Yeah, that's right. Like vacuuming lines in the carpet.
Yes.
You can, see
that is very satisfying.
Yeah. Those moments.
Well, Catherine, this is almost sounding like therapy that we're talking about here. So why don't we go into your chat with Meghan?
Yeah. So every month we talk to Meghan Corridan. She's a pediatric occupational therapist, and she also has a 6-year-old daughter. And so she tells us about books and activities and iPad apps and all kinds of things that she uses both in therapy and with her daughter. And she wrote a blog post about this. We've talked on this podcast before about adult coloring books and the whole idea of the coloring book kind of craze.
Yeah.
Well, she discovered that there are 2-person coloring and activity books, like meant to be done with a parent and child or 2 kids together. So she rounded up a whole bunch of those and we talked about them. Hi, Meghan. It's always good to have you with us. So you posted about this on your blog and on Facebook, and it was a concept that I was totally not aware of, which is coloring in activity books that are made for 2 people to use together.
Yes.
So tell us more about this idea and what makes it fun and some of the examples that you found.
Okay. So I'm big into coloring. I'm big into activity books, and my 6.5-year-old daughter is also really into them.
Mm-hmm.
And we would spend time like coloring side by side, or she would want to color in some of like the really intense grown-up coloring books.
Yeah.
It ended up just being so frustrating for her. So I was in Barnes and Noble months ago, and I saw this book called Coloring with Mom, and I was like, this sounds amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at it, and it was a really pretty coloring book. And the whole concept was that there were 2 pictures on either side of the coloring book, and one was a little bit more complicated than the other, but it had a similar theme. You could color at the same time, but your child would have more success. So it just meant there was more fun to be had.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I observed with my daughter. She just had fun, and she wasn't freaking out that she was coloring outside the lines, or the lines were too small, or all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And what I really liked about it was, since it was the same theme, like we could have a conversation. We could talk about like, what color are you going to make your flowers? What could we make different? So it just gave us this opportunity to have conversation and work on concepts. And it was just a really fun way to spend time with her.
Mm-hmm.
And she loved it. And she asks to do it all the time.
So it has one picture on one side of the page, like if you open the book flat, you have one side where it's an adult level coloring, yep. And then the other side is just a simpler version, but a similar image.
Yes. So, for example, like there's like a big vase of flowers,
mm-hmm.
and the grown-up one might have a little bit more detail, and the children's one has fatter flowers, less flowers to color. All those details are just a little bit bigger, so they're easier for a child to color.
Mm-hmm.
but it's like the same kind of concept. Another one has like bicycles on it, and the bicycles are really intricate and fine. And the child's page has scooters, so there's less detail to color in,
Right.
But they can still be as creative and as detailed as they want.
Mm-hmm. That's great. So you found a mom one, and I think you also found a color with dad or work with dad one too.
Yeah,
is that right?
It's called Draw With Me, Dad, and it's a draw, color, and connect with your child. It's another one of these side-by-side books.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, instead of coloring, there's coloring involved, but it's also, there's a lot of pictures that you fill in. So instead of coloring in the pictures, like you might add details. So it's a lot more drawing based.
Mm-hmm.
And this one's nice because it provides questions that you can ask your child while you're coloring, which I think not all parents need that, but some parents do need to know like the right way to ask questions without rating their kids. So it's nice that, you have that as an option, these tips and questions to sort of make your time with your kid a little bit more enjoyable.
Yeah. Sounds great. And you say, I think that you've also found some that work more for peers to do together, like play dates or siblings.
Yeah. So when I found these books, I just kept looking and looking. And I was, there's not a ton of them out there, and there's some really bad ones.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever I find a good one, I try and pick them up. There is one called the Tandem Activity Book, and it's meant more for peers, and it's a similar concept, except instead of having the same thing on both sides, you might have activities where you have to work together to finish something. So, for example, there's like a maze, and you have to finish your side of the maze, and the other person has to finish their side of the maze, and you meet in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Or you both have a mailbox, and you have to draw the best present that you might receive in the mail. It just sparks conversation. It sparks creativity. Kids get to know each other a little bit. I think it's a nice thing for kids who especially are struggling with conversational skills or social skills, because it gives you a very directed activity.
Yeah.
And you can grade it to be as challenging or as simple as you need it to be based on the kids.
Great.
And another one similar to that is called the 2-Player Big Fun Book. And it's the same concept as the tandem one, except it's a little bit bigger. They do things like where you have like 25 socks on each side of the page, and then you have a page in the middle that you kind of hold up,
Mm-hmm.
and the person who finds all the matches first is the winner. You could also do it where it's 2 kids finding the matches against a grown-up. So they're working together as a team. You can really grade it to however the situation is. So it can either be kids playing against each other, or it could be, in my case, I work in a social skills group, and oftentimes we try and encourage the kids not to work against each other, but to work with each other. So one of our staff members at the meeting house will be on one side, and the kids will be working together to solve whatever the problem is. So it's, you can grade it on however many kids you have, which to me, it's important to be able to find books that you can sort of alter the expectations to whatever the crowd might be.
Right. So that you can use it in the way that works best for the kids that you have. I want to go back for a second to something that you said, that there's a lot of bad coloring books out there, or activity books.
Yeah.
What do you think parents should be looking for if they are looking to buy these kinds of books? I know you do have some specific recommendations, which we will link to so that people can see those. But if you're paging through something at the bookstore, what are you looking for in a good quality book?
Well, first of all, like the quality of the paper makes a big difference, because if you're getting just like a coloring book, and your kid is, wanting to use markers, they're not going to have like the same perfect picture that they might be looking for.
Mm-hmm.
I also think being able to look through a book and know that your child will be successful. Some of the books out there are just so challenging, and then it just ends up sitting on your bookshelf. And some of them are really babyish, and you just want to make sure you're providing your child with the just right challenge, because coloring and activity books can work on so many wonderful skills if it's the right book for your child.
Right. And maybe tell us a little bit about the skills, especially when it comes to these books that you can use in a pair. Right.
Okay. So, besides the fact that it's working on fine motor skills, grasping skills, and as an occupational therapist, I'm really, really concerned about, always giving kids fun opportunities to work on different fine motor skills. It's great on working on visual motor and visual perceptual skills, and things such as executive functioning skills, things like focus and attention, being able to multitask. So if you're with a friend, you can color and have conversation, or you can share your materials with your friends. Those are really important things. You also want to encourage creativity and self-expression. So you want to find books that may have a little bit of an open-ended activity to it. So that's why I really like the tandem activity book,
right?
Because it does allow kids to sort of express who they are. So, if it's, I'm going to use it again, the example of the mailbox. So what is the best thing that you might get in the mail? For one kid, it might be a magazine. The other kid, it might be a postcard from their aunt. But it gives them this jumping off point for conversation that otherwise they might struggle with.
Mm-hmm. And I think even that's helpful for parents and kids too, because we may think that it's just automatic, but it can really prompt some different conversations about topics you might not have thought to bring up with your kid.
And, for my daughter, who is this perfectionist, and, we talk a lot about how things don't have to be perfect, that we learn from our mistakes. So if you color outside the lines, it's no big deal. It makes the picture special because you did it, and no two pictures are ever the same. So it's sort of like allowing them to make mistakes in a safe way.
Right. Well, that's great. Well, thank you so much, Megan. These sound like a lot of fun, and I think I'm going to have to pick up some of them for our family. We really appreciate hearing from you, and we will have a link to Megan's blog, Mac and Toys, where you can see some specific books that she recommends. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
It's always fun to hear from Megan and her great ideas.
Yes.
I jumped the gun there. Now, final segment today, we are going to do a little shameless self-promotion and direct you to some of the things on our sites that we think you should take a look at. Terri, what have you got?
I just wanted to invite everybody over to my Facebook page, which is called Terri Morrow on Parenting Special Needs. Super snappy title there. But I try to include articles on there that I see around that are of interest, like the one I just mentioned in our roundup, and also things that I've written and things that I want to ask people about. So come check that out.
Catherine?
I just wanted to mention a piece on VeryWell that is an older piece, but I have revamped it a little bit. It's 10 tips for making fitness more fun for the whole family. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Do tell.
So go check that out. And Nicole, I'm sure it's going to get you running marathons in no time.
That I would like to see.
Well, I'm going to follow in Terri's footsteps and shout out a site of mine that is pretty new. It's my own personal Twitter account. It's not related to my other one that I use frequently, the Inclusive Class. So this Twitter account is under my own name, Nicole Eridix. So have a look at it, and yeah, I'm there. I'm trying to keep it going and keep it busy. And I post all sorts of great stuff from the Parenting Roundabout.
Yay! Yeah, it's got all that stuff that she was too embarrassed to put on her big fancy inclusive _ class. So now we can put the fun stuff on Nicole Erdix. Well, that's it for this week's episode of Parenting Roundabout. We hope you enjoyed it and that you will join us every week. You can listen to podcast episodes on parentingroundabout.com or download them from iTunes. Please subscribe so that you get all of our podcasts and mini podcasts. You can also follow us on Twitter, where I am at Momitude, Nicole is at Nicole Erdix, and Catherine is at About Family Fit. You can also follow the podcast on Twitter at Roundabout Chat and look for us on Facebook, Pinterest, Tumblr, YouTube, and Instagram too. Best of all, stop by our blog at parentingroundabout.com and read recaps, find links on all the stories we mention, and talk back in the comments. Thanks to John Moran for providing our in and out music, and I wish everybody a great week.